Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of still have not come up with a name for it yet. I want to apologize, not that anyone probably noticed, but I did not put out an episode last week. The one I am about to go through and the one after this, I filmed and I've since erased. I've put a lot of time into this one and the next one. A ton of information on here. Really just wanted to make sure that I got it right, or at least as close to right as I possibly could. Just want to remind everybody that these videos are for entertainment and educational purposes only, and they are just meant to be my experience and my research. If there's things on here that said that you don't agree with or you think that are inaccurate, I am more than open to having people on here that if there's another side that I am not aware of. I constantly want to remain the pupil. I love this stuff. I research it every day. It is my entire world right now, obviously outside of being a dad and taking care of myself. But if there's opinions outside of mine and anyone would like to come on and challenge those, I am open to that. I'm always open to learn. I put an extreme amount of research into this. So the whole purpose is to give to you guys the best information possible so you can help navigate the peptide space. There's a ton of information out there, but from my research and what I found, like this is the closest thing to accurate I can find. But if you are out there and you are watching this and you have a difference of opinion, you're more than welcome to come on. In fact, I welcome that. Come on and have a conversation, and we can go through and see things from different perspectives. But today what we're going to walk through is just a peptide 101. And then next episode after this is really just going to be, all right, I'm sold. I want to start looking into peptides. Where do I start? So that's it. So I guess like without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in of what peptides are. So peptides are short chains of amino acids. Your body already makes them. They're the signaling molecules that tell tissues to repair, tell glands to release hormones, tell inflammation to calm down, or to ramp up. They're not foreign chemicals. They're instructions your body already understands. What we do is take those natural sequences or close versions of them and synthesize them so we can deliver a higher, more targeted signal when the body's own production starts to fade. That's the core idea. You're not introducing something the body has never seen. You're amplifying a conversation that is already happening inside of you. As we get older, a lot of those signals weaken. This is one of the most important things to understand. You take GHKCU. When you're young, your body has plenty of it. It helps with tissue repair, collagen production, skin quality, and inflammation control. As decades go by, those levels drop significantly. Same story with a lot of other signaling peptides. The hardware is still there, the cells, the receptors, the pathways, but the messages get quieter and less frequent. What we're doing with peptides is turning the volume back up on signals that used to be louder when we were younger. That's why young people, for the most part, don't need peptides. Healing peptides like BPC 157 and TB500 work in a similar way. They increase the signaling for repair. BPC, in particular, supports angiogenesis, the formation of new blood vessels. That matters because new blood flow is a big part of how tissue actually heals. You're not forcing the body to do something unnatural. You're giving it more of a signal it already knows how to respond to, because as we get older, the signal weakens. Recovery slows down. When you restore or increase that signal, the body can do what it was designed to do more of effectively. And these are amino acid sequences the body recognizes. The safety profile is generally very different from a lot of petroleum-based pharmaceutical drugs. I mean, I'll go there. For the most part, if your body doesn't need it or if it can't use it, it breaks it down and clears it. You're not dealing with the same long list of systemic side effects you see with many synthetic drugs that keep you in the never-ending loop of the system. That doesn't mean zero risk. Nothing is zero risk. But the contrast is real. One is signaling a molecule the body already knows how to process and exists inside your body. The other is often a foreign chemical structure that has to be managed, metabolized, and sometimes fights the body as much as it helps. More prescriptions get added to manage the symptoms of the drug that was prescribed before it. I'm sure that sounds familiar to somebody. So these things are also not new. That's another point a lot of people get wrong. Insulin was one of the first peptide drug. It was like isolated in the early 1920s, let's say. Oxytocin has been used in medicine for decades. Growth hormone-related peptides have had research going back to the 1980s, 1990s. Thymosin peptides, healing peptides. The science has been there, sitting there in front of us for a long time. There have been biohacking communities that have been using these for decades, and other countries that don't allow big pharma to rule their citizens, like Russia. What changed is awareness. Social media, recovery culture, and people actually paying attention to how their bodies heal pulled these tools out of niche clinics and research settings and put them in front of regular people. The demand exploded. COVID was pretty much what did it. And with that, so did the scammers looking for money to grab. The molecules themselves, however, have been around a very long time. The research is there, despite what they want you to believe. The conversation around them has just gotten louder. So if they're already in the body, if the signaling makes sense, and if many of them have decades of research behind them, why are the most popular ones not FDA approved? Why are most of us operating in the gray market? Here's the reality. Most of the peptides people actually want, BPC 157, TB 500, the healing stacks, a lot of the recovery and optimization components are on the FDA's do not compound list, or sit in a regulatory gray zone where compound pharmacies cannot legally make them. That's not a small detail. It means a licensed U.S. compounding pharmacy is not allowed to prepare them for patients right now. The only peptides to date that are on the 503A compound list are VIP GHKCU, but it's not an injectable form. The peptides that are FDA approved that are on the 503 compound list are oxytocin, ceramorelin, tesamorelin, NAD, which is coenzyme. It's not a peptide. So when a company tells you their BPC or their TB500 is coming from a compound pharmacy, in most cases, that claim does not hold up. In fact, BPC, TB500, KPV, MOTC, Iptalon, Samax, CJC, IPA, and others are not on the list, no matter what the $600 an hour peptide specialist tells you. If the substance is on the restricted list, the pharmacy cannot legally compound it, period. A lot of people are being told one thing while the regulatory reality is something different entirely. That gap between marketing and reality is bigger than what most people realize. But Neil, they just added 7 to the list. No, they've been recommended. They have not been added to the list and won't be until at least the spring of next year. That is exactly why the gray market exists. Not because people prefer it, not because the industry wants to stay underground, because the majority of popular peptides, for the majority of popular peptides, it is currently the only realistic path to access. The clean, regulated compound route has been largely closed for these compounds. When the legitimate door is shut, people still look for a way through. That is human nature. That is also the market reality. The next episode, we're going to do a deeper dive into this. It's going to come right after this one. So more to come. Now, look at the incentives. A lot of these sequences are based on things that the body already makes. That makes them hard to lock down with the kind of ironclad, long-lasting patent that Big Pharma builds its business models around. Once something is fully approved and the data is public, it becomes much easier for others to copy. The return on spending hundreds of millions of dollars takes to bring to market to run a full trial process just isn't there. The way it is for a heavily modified, tightly patented molecule that they can own for 15 to 25 years, 15 to 20 years. The economics don't line up the same way. So what happens instead? When these compounds start showing real-world results, people recovering faster, dealing with injuries better, supporting hormone and recovery signaling, they become a threat to more expensive, patented alternatives. The pressure increases, safety concerns get amplified, data gaps get treated as proof of danger, access through pharmacies gets restricted, and the only option left for most people is the gray market. It's not an accident. Restrict legitimate channels, force everything into a less regulated territory, then point at the less regulated territory and say it's dangerous. It's a clean feedback loop. Create the conditions for a gray market, then use the existence of that gray market as the reason to keep tighter control. Meanwhile, the peptides that can be heavily modified, tightly owned, and turned into high-margin products move forward. Everything else gets treated like the problem. I don't want to trash the gray market. That's where we live. We're currently in it. For myself, I prefer it. Free market prices do not have the 10x markups on them that are associated with writing a prescription down on a pad. For the majority of the peptides people are actually using right now, it is the only option. The question is not gray market or pharmacy. For most of these compounds, the pharmacy door is closed. The real question is whether you're dealing with a legitimate, transparent company that tests, triple tests what it sells, discloses what it can, and stands behind the product. Or whether you're rolling the dice, like a lot of you are, with whoever has the cheapest vial and the flashiest claims and the 50% discounts. This is quite literally why we started up what we did to solve that problem for our network. But still, people would rather pay 3 to 10x the cost because most of them only think product is good if poor people can't afford it. They would much rather go to a supplier who overcharges them because they would rather be lied to and turn a blind eye to the fact that the compound pharmacy claim they are making is quite literally impossible, and it takes 0.5 seconds to find through a simple online search. That distinction matters. Quality, testing, consistency, and honesty still matter even when the regulatory pathway is closed. There are companies that take this seriously and companies that don't. The fact that the system has forced most of these compounds into the gray market does not mean every source is equal. If anything, it makes the quality of the source more important, not less. One more thing that needs to be said clearly. Peptides are not an overnight fix. They only work as hard as you do. Signaling compounds work by supporting processes that take time. Tissue repair, recovery, collagen turnover, hormone optimization. You have to be consistent. Missing doses, switching compounds every 2 weeks because you think it's not working, or expecting miracles in 10 days is how people end up disappointed and then claim, peptides don't work. The ones who get results treat it like a protocol. They stay consistent. They give the signaling time to do what it is supposed to do. That is true for almost any biological process. This is not big pharma, take a pill and change. The body does not run on marketing timelines. So, getting a little fired up. To put it simply, peptides are signaling molecules your body already understands. Many of the popular ones restore signals that are weakened with age. Most of them cannot currently be compounded in a regular pharmacy because of regulatory restrictions. That is why the gray market is not a preference, it is the reality for the majority of these compounds. And the system has made it that way. The smart move is not to pretend the pharmacy route is open when it isn't. The smart move is to understand the landscape, to get educated, demand transparency, which I'm going to help with on the next episode, and work with sources that take quality seriously. Because for right now, that is the only honest path most of us have. So again, literally why we did what we did, okay? We wanted to bring transparency, clarity, and honesty to a very gray market to which a ton of scammers have come in. So hopefully this brought some clarity to you guys. If you have questions, please type them in the comments, send me a DM. If there's something that I have gotten wrong, I've tried my absolute best to make this as accurate as possible. Maybe wait to the next episode after this, where I'm going to get into a little bit more detail around the different paths to entry on peptides and, there that goes. Different paths to entry on peptides and clinics and, getting things written. How are they writing things that aren't on the compound list and things that just let me get to the next episode. But if you have questions or you have concerns, feel free to reach out to me. And as always, let's freaking go. Thank you very much.